The purpose for this tutorial is to talk about the planning and the preparing that goes into building a new class inside the Blackboard learning environment. And we're going to talk about the importance of putting it on paper first and talk about a few little issues that might impact your attempts to build. If you will turn to page 8 of your handout where the workbook actually starts talking about preparing to build a course, that's the section we're talking about right now. When you're getting ready to build something that the students are going to work on, you want to make sure that you've done the pre-planning. If you jump right into this environment and just begin to create with very little thought or very little planning or organization, you are going to regret that decision, end up spending a lot of time working in this environment to find out that you have to pull it all out and start all over again. So there's some things to keep in mind as you begin to build in the Blackboard learning environment. And first of all, if you had a course in Angel, if you had an Angel version that you were happy with, there's an option that you can use in Angel that you can print out so that you'll have it handy so that you can easily create it in the Blackboard learning environment. So let me kind of show you how this can work. So I've gone back into Angel. What you're looking at now is a course in Angel. If I go to Lessons, Preferences, and I put a check mark in this index box, and I click Save, then what that does is it turns on an indexing feature so that if you look over to the far right hand side, once you have a check mark in index, this will show up. And when you click on this index option, what you'll find is magically you'll see a list of everything in your course. It will show the folders and all of the items that's in those folders. Now, week 2, for instance, only has a drop box. This is a sandbox that I play with, and obviously weeks 3, 4, 5, and so on have nothing in them. But if they did, it would be lined up, indented, and lined up underneath the weekly folder like this. The great thing about indexing is, let me go back and say that if there is a course in Angel that is already laid out the way that you want it to be laid out, turn on indexing and then go up to your browser and print this page. And when you print it, you'll already have, there's print, you'll already have a list of the order that you wish to follow. If you want to bring an Angel course over in this way, then what you'll do by printing is you'll have a printed list that you can use as a checkoff sheet for sure. The other thing that you can do is you can open Angel up and put it on one side of your screen. You can open Blackboard up and you can put it in the other side of your screen, and you can have both of them up simultaneously so that you can build from one to the other very easily by going back and forth in this way. Now, I'm not talking about importing, I'm simply talking about going into the folder, and you can do a copy paste of some of these items. If you have words or things involved, you can download the items that are associated with it or make copies of the actual hyperlinks that are a part of that particular item. But you can go from here to here, from here to here fairly easily in copying those Angel courses over if that's what you so choose to do. And you can use that printed list as a guide, checking off as you complete different sections so that you stay organized and don't get lost in the scheme of things. Your alternative is to start with a brand new concept. And that's not always a bad thing, honestly. I'm sure you've learned, if you've worked with Angel before, or if you've worked in a learning management system before, you've learned a lot, and starting over brand new is not a tough thing. For new faculty coming on board, if you have nothing to work with, you're automatically starting brand new. So in doing so, I want to share with you something that you definitely want to consider. If you attempt to jump into the building process without giving detailed thought to the organization of the course, putting yourself in the student's shoes. Where do they start? How do they know where to go from here? That kind of a thing. You'll be making a big mistake. So what we encourage you to do is to just sit down with a pad, a piece of paper or legal something or whatever, and start writing. Determine the first folder that the student should go into, determine what should go into that folder, and after that, begin thinking about how the course should be laid out so that it's logical and intuitive for the student. If you have the student bouncing in and out of folders back and forth to meet deadlines, I'm going to tell you that oftentimes generates confusion. But if you can put everything in an order as to how it should be completed, students can go, okay, I do this first, this second, this third, this fourth. They can usually follow that. But if they have to come out of one folder to go into another folder, say to find tests or to find quizzes or to find PowerPoints or to find the activities they're supposed to do by deadline, sometimes that can create a lot of confusion. Just keep these things in mind as you plan how the course is going to look like. And so also take into consideration the supplemental items that you might be able to include that will enhance the course. For instance, think about videos, think about presentations. There's lots of stuff out there on YouTube already. There are lots of hyperlinks. There's some audio lecture out there, a lot of TED Talks out there. You can use interactive meetings. You can do live interactive meetings with students using Blackboard Collaborate, which is built into the system already. This particular tutorial doesn't cover that. There are third-party resources such through Pearson, through McGraw-Hill. There's all kinds of resources that are available out there for you. Keep those things in mind while you're doing this planning. Because once you get into the planning process itself and you move past that and you get into the building, you reach a point of no return. And if it's not just the way you want it, you get to building and you've got so much time in it that oftentimes what you'll find is, oh, I'll just accept it the way it is. I'll just go with it the way it is, even though it's not ideal. When you run out of time, you run out of time. So plan up front so that you can build quickly on the back end. And I will make a quick note about that the toughest part is planning. Once you have a list like you're looking at right now, the actual building part is easy. You can build a course in 2 to 3 hours if you have it already laid out module by module the way that you see it in this photo. Now in the next tutorial, we're going to talk about how to start building out these hyperlinks on this side. Remember, we said in the earlier tutorial that students can't see anything below this line. So anything from here all the way down, these are faculty things. Students can't see those things. But in the next tutorial, we're going to start building this side out. And I'm going to show you how to create the navigation that will move students through your course. And keep in mind that that is your responsibility. When the student needs to be able to move through the course on his own, particularly if it's an online course. So if it's not intuitive enough to help him on this side, he can get lost very, very easily. But before I talk about some of the later things about special characters, etc., when we're creating these particular titles, I want to show you how to view it the way a student sees it. So this is how an instructor sees it. Your question may be, well, how does a student see it? This eyeball located right here, and you'll notice that when I mouse over it, it says Enter Student Preview. I'm going to click that. And it says entering student preview, and as soon as it pops over, immediately you're seeing it the way the student sees it. Now, how do you know that? What happened to your course management things that were over here? They're gone. So right now, the only hyperlinks that the students are seeing is the home page and the announcements. That's it. We haven't created anything else for them. I'm going to exit the preview at this time. I'm going to delete the preview data. And here's my course management section. It's back again. Again, the only two hyperlinks that students can see are above this line. I'm going to do it one more time so that you can see it. This is the student preview. Notice only two hyperlinks are showing. I'm going to edit the preview and I'm not going to keep the data. Okay, and finally, the last thing I want to tell you is that when you are deciding what you're going to name these all of these items that you're going to build and create inside the Blackboard learning environment, there's a little something you need to know. It's the special characters issue, like the @ sign, the number sign, also known as the pound sign, the dollar sign, the percentage sign, the ampersand, the asterisk, plus signs. These characters should not be used for titles. Anything that's going in the grade book you should not use any of these special characters. The only exception will be when the titles are pulled directly from Banner, and that's not something that you will do. It will be done for you. And the comma does not need to be used in any comments, a grade book name, because these things throw the database through a loop. And I don't know why. It's an is thing, and it's the way it is. It's not something that's going to change. So stay away from special characters. And let me show you what I'm talking about when I'm referencing special characters. Let me get a sticky note open here. All right, a special character is this. These are all special characters, and they're up above the numbers when you hold down the Shift key. They're the things that are up above the numbers on your keyboard. Don't use these in your titles, or Blackboard will freak out on you. Okay, that's all I want to cover on this particular tutorial. We're going to get into the meat of the situation in the next one, so hang tight. This has been a tutorial that has discussed the planning and preparations that go into creating a course in Blackboard.